Subspaces have launched on Bitcoin Mainnet. The Subspaces team is calling it the Mainnet Alpha launch, or perhaps we can consider this a beta launch.
Yeah, in my mind, and I pulled up the Spaces protocol main page for folks that want to find out more about it. But we have been running on the testnet mode for some months now, and kind of testing it out, seeing how this works, make sure it's buttoned up. There is some significant issues with testnet, though. If you're into Bitcoin development at all, you'll understand that testnet. We're on what we call testnet 4 right now, and the pace at which blocks are mined and getting a transaction into a block, even when it is mined, is very difficult, and you can end up where normal Bitcoin on the main ledger, you got all those thousands and thousands of like miners that are all competing for the next block. So, the algorithm is set up to give you a block about every 10 minutes. This is what people understand. So, but that can vary. It's all random, right? So it might take 30 minutes to get a next block, or it might take 2 minutes. But on average, it's 10. And it's rare that you have to wait even an hour to get another block. And if you've got your fees, if you've got a transaction with fees set to such that it'll get accepted in the next block, then you're talking about a max of having to wait an hour. Now, also another component is we talk about there's even once your transactions are in a block and they get mined, that doesn't necessarily mean that everything is completely finalized. The way the Bitcoin blockchain is set up, we like to say that if you wait for 6 confirmations or 6 or 5 more blocks to occur after your transaction, then the chances of what they call a block reorganization is almost nil. So there's a chance that your transaction might get moved around in a block a little bit after the fact, but that's extremely rare. And so by all means, it's like you're at the most waiting for an hour. With the testnet, it's like you could wait almost a half a day or a day. I would do some things, trying some stuff out, and like go do other things for a while, come back, check on it. But that's kind of really tough because it kind of breaks your cycle of like wanting to like figure it out and move on to the next thing. So anyway, we're all very excited. Congratulations to the team, to Mike and Buffer and Alex's. There's a few folks kind of beyond in the core team that are, the main stars of getting this Spaces protocol to this beta. And we had a bit of an update call yesterday on, for lack of a better word, Spaces on X. That's just what we use for these update calls. Unrelated to this Spaces, but we had a call yesterday. If you follow the Telegram group, you can probably find the link to that and then listen to the replay if you're interested, and talk a bit about the release. They're kind of considering it a bit of a soft release, that they want to kind of let people play around, do little things, that you're not wouldn't be completely devastated if things had to get messed up or changed a little bit. And they're going to kind of do a bit of a trial period for a couple weeks before just calling it, good to go. I think it's pretty much good to go now, but we'll see. A little bit of just caveat there. So, but it's very exciting. And why is that? It's because it opens up the other half of the whole protocol that we've been talking about, right?
That's the subs.
So yeah, I've got this. If you look at the docs.spacesprotocol.org. So up to date, the only thing that's been available to on the mainnet has been what we call the top level. I don't like to use the word domain because it conflates with what we're trying to get away from, right? Which is DNS. So the top level name, in this case, at Bitcoin, is, as we've talked about in the past, and also folks have been, itching for some more technical dives. we're planning on doing more technical deep dives going forward now that we're running main and we can show it live and we can do it for real. And that really sets us up to be able to get into the nitty-gritty details. How do I set up my Spaces system? How do I, if I want to do that, is there other tools that are easier to use? We're going to get into all of that and talk through some of Jason's experience as well. But to date, the on Mainnet has been the auction process that allows you to bid on and register the top level name. So at Bitcoin in the past. So you've been able to do that right now. In fact, if you look right now, there's a few. Oh, we got a few. This is the Explorer. So this is what's going on right now. So there's a few that are already waiting. RAG is going to be available. It's in the auction process for a few more days. Jobs, that's a good one.
That seems good. Kanye.
Yeezy. Oh, wait a second. Now, what I see a theme here.
Yeah.
Right.
Who is that?
Grimes. So that's Kanye West, right? So he was in the news. Like they had scheduled him as a headliner for something like the Wireless concert or something in the UK, and UK like basically said, revoked his visa to go participate in that concert. So it's like causing all sorts of upset. So anyway, so yeah, so maybe Kanye West is going to be interested in being on Spaces protocol soon. But anyway, that's where we're at now. 3,495 spaces have been registered. So, you might think, oh, all the good stuff is taken. No, not at all. There's a lot. And just to recap, there's no upcoming rollouts. So you could open a bid for a new name and have it in auction within a day. Normally this waiting pool will only hold the top 10 open bids.
Yeah. Now's a good time to roll out some names.
Might be a good time to now that we're live on Mainnet to get in here. So anyway, we can talk about that a little more in another day, but the exciting part's this stuff to the left of the @ sign, right? So this is what we call the subname or the handle in this illustration here. It's Alice. So while everything to the right of the @ sign is anchored on Bitcoin, there's actual Bitcoin transactions on the main net that represents both all the bidding activity, the registration activity, and then once you've got a Bitcoin top level name, or I should say Spaces top level name registered, that's handled by your wallet, then you own that thing forever. Now, just always one little caveat of that is if you do nothing, and I mean nothing at all, for a year, then the potential is that top level name can expire and become available for going through the process again.
No squatting. Use it or lose it.
So yeah, so this is like, if somebody captures a high value name, and then, forgets to put it in their inheritance planning or it gets hit by a bus. And this way it would naturally kind of become available if there was no activity. Now, if you got a high value name and you want it to persist, put it in it's property, put it in your trust, put it in your estate planning, make sure your kids know about it and can, move it forward in perpetuity. So, but the exciting part is what about the rest? That's limited. We talk about there's so many blocks, so many transactions can go into a block. You can't do it. The protocol sets a pace for how many new top level names can be created. So once a top name is created, then there's the subname, or we call it sometimes the handle. And that is all handled through a zero knowledge proof set. So it's effectively just created ad hoc. It's like you want Alice, you go to the person that owns that top level name, in this case at Bitcoin, and you say, hey, I want Alice. Now that person or that system is going to be able to tell you, A, is it available? Because somebody else may have already gotten ahead of you and gotten it. B, if it is available, depending on how they operate that top level name, it might be a charity, it might be a club, but it might be somebody that wants to use it for profit as a business. So they might require a payment of some sort. It's not really defined in the protocol what that payment needs to be, but we can pretty much guess that Bitcoin's going to be a good mechanism. So provide a payment. So say it's available, Alice is available, I want it. You know, you go through whatever the top level operator's payment system is to kind of, you know, present it. Then they add it to their proof set for that top level name. Again, this is zero knowledge Merkle tree proof mechanism. We won't get into the detail of what that means mathematically, but you'll see a lot of this appearing in other Bitcoin projects and other types of crypto projects, that this is a really great way to assure, without having to go back on chain, whether something exists or doesn't exist, right? So once that name, Alice in this case, gets into the proof set of the operator, that's who we call kind of runs that top level namespace, then the operator can then give you a certificate that's a temporary certificate. Now, there's a whole mechanism for called lib veritas, which is a set of tools for validating those certificates so that you can easily, without touching the chain, you can easily verify that that certificate is valid. And that sets you up for immediate use. So you can immediately start using it. And if you want to then add and get the certificates of other people, there's a new network called the Cert Relay network that allows you to query a network of nodes that can say, hey, does this exist? Or if it does exist, what sort of data is associated with it? So that's, and we can get into that in more detail when we do kind of a step-by-step run through of this stuff. But just to kind of touch on it today.
Question on that Cert Relay. So you showed the Explorer, the Spaces Protocol Explorer. Now that gives us all the top level names that are on Bitcoin. We can search, we can see what's new. Is there any type of explorer for the subspaces, the Alices? Is that what Cert Relay is, or is there anything that we could use for that?
Yeah, so that is what that is in terms of knowing and finding, not only finding out whether a certain handle or subspace exists, but also to retrieve data about it. Because like in this example, it kind of just alludes to that. And remember, each of these subhandles are controlled by a separate key pair. So there's a private key, public key that you create. You ever hold the private key. And part of the process of attaining the subname is you take your public key and you send it to the operator, and as a certificate request, that operator then issues you the certificate bound to that private key. So only you can use that certificate for signing operations. And there is a Nostr equivalent of that public key that this is what this illustration is. But it doesn't have to be Nostr. It can be for signing a wallet transaction or other things as well, anything that might require a public-private key pair. So the thing that I find most interesting is starting to put other things. So for instance, say Alice at Bitcoin wants to have a website that they talk about themselves and their interests. Then instead of a Nostr pub key here, this could resolve to an IP address of a website that is hosted somewhere, right? So, and that's the kind of information that gets attached through submitting it to the Cert Relay system and retrieving it. So, so that's pretty cool. And then if you change your website, maybe move to a different provider, then you can then update that information. Again, we'll get into the technical details of this a little later, but what's important to know is that you have control of what this name means. And I think as we grow, and another reason I'm really excited about this is the reason that this is interesting is like all the things that can be built on top of this.
Yeah.
It's in a way that, and again, this doesn't touch DNS at all. So the ability to kind of do this, if you want to keep it private or to maintain sovereignty over the property of this, and the thing that really gets me excited about this is to take it one step further, and that is once the certificate has been created, you can use it definitely. Well, there's another step in the middle. Let's just go through that. So as I mentioned, your name, Alice in this case, maybe Andrew, maybe Jason, maybe Alex, other people maybe want @Bitcoin. So that gets put into the representative zero knowledge proof Merkle tree. The root of that tree has a hash, and the hash, the operator, the @Bitcoin entity in this case, they then can put that hash on the main Bitcoin chain, which is what we call a commit for the name. And what that does is it puts evidence on the Bitcoin blockchain at the base layer that says this set of things, this set of entities does exist, and it's provable on the blockchain. Now, because that operation is, if you mess it up, you could effectively disable some of the resolution sort of mechanisms. They built into the protocol a day-long window of you have to leave that commitment on chain for a day before the system recognizes it as finalized. And that gives you some opportunity to recommit, make some adjustments, maybe add a few names if you don't want those interim commitments to be valid. And then all you have to do is just wait a day, and then after the last one, and then it becomes exactly what is when anyone else wants to say, hey, what's the commitment chain root hash of this name? You can reach out to the Bitcoin blockchain and get that information, and that way you can prove that all of these subnames are valid. So that's, it's not super immediate, but then again, these things, there's a certain methodology of why it takes time for these things to happen. Bitcoin is designed, it's not designed to be fast. It's designed to be foolproof. It's designed to be solid and trusted without anyone else, having to deal with anything. Once you've gotten your proof, once you've gotten your name and it's finalized in a finalized proof set, there's one more thing that can happen. And this is optional. You don't have to do this, but you can go back to your operator @Bitcoin in this case, and you could say, I want to take my subname and I don't want anything more to do with you as an operator. I want to take complete sovereignty and ownership of this subname. And then the operator will take, because it knows your public key already, it had to in order to give you a certificate. It takes that public key and it creates what we call a pointer which is a transaction on the blockchain, and it associates it directly with your subname and gives it in a transaction that only you can spend. That means that they've completely relinquished that name to you. So in this case, Alice @Bitcoin is yours forever. They can't take it back. And it's up to you then if you want to change something about it in terms of the data associated with it. And every subname and every top level name can have extra data on the main chain that can convey information about it. And there is then a way to that you could create new transactions that retain your ownership of the Alice @Bitcoin subhandle and maintain on-chain extra data about it. And then that is, I think, the coolest thing in the world, because it means this is something that you completely own, going back to what we talked about earlier, completely self-sovereign, completely, no counterparty risk, and it is a bearer instrument. It cannot be wrangled from it unless you give away your private key, no one else can take it. No one else can control it. And that, my friend, is a very powerful thing to be able to say. I don't know if it can be said with quite that definitive sort of, aspect as other things.
Yeah, I love
So,
that part of optionality that where you have the option. So
yeah.
Bitcoin can't handle all the millions and billions of subs. We have this argument going on about data on chain. So Spaces protocol is built really lightweight, where it only uses about 40 megs, well under the 80 that's allowed in each block and op return for a subspace. Top level is about 60. Or bytes, whatever it is.
Bytes, not megs. Yeah.
Yeah, not megs. So it uses 40 bytes for subs, and that could be millions of subs for just one 40 byte op return.
Right.
And 60 for the top. So all the tops are on chain, but we can't have all these names. So all the subs, the Alices, the Jasons, the Andrews at Bitcoin, their subs, they're off. They're in this Merkle tree that you were talking about. Now, this 1 day wait grace period that we're calling it, it's in Bitcoin time. It's 144 blocks. So does that mean that if I get Alice at Bitcoin and I want to put it on the Bitcoin chain, or let's just say I go to the owner of at Bitcoin and I want Alice at Bitcoin. And he's like, okay, here it is. Boom. He makes that commit. He gives me Alice at Bitcoin. That means that I must wait 144 blocks, right? One full day to know that I have that, because that operator could actually make another transaction and wipe out Alice at Bitcoin, or change it, or add more and exclude Alice from the commit.
I think theoretically, yes, that they could.
Okay.
Whether this actually happens, or it would kind of be a breach of trust in a way, right?
Well, we can't trust anyone. We have to verify. So that's why I'm just saying.
Right.
Make sure.
But you're right. It's like once that commitment is finalized after a day, then and maybe you build in to the whole, because there is a period of like things could change for you and affect effectively your ability to use that subname, right? Maybe there's like a way to like half pay, like pay half of it up front, and then when you see the finalized thing and everybody's happy, then you do a second side of the payment. This has been the whole monetization of this thing, and how actual purchases and transactions, are happening. That's been left up. That's been largely undefined. I mean, and it's been left up to what we call the operators to decide what that's going to be. I mean, some operator might say, "Hey, I want my name, my top level name, to only have people in it, or I want to only issue subnames to people that I've actually seen and met."
Yeah.
And maybe it's like, if you want that name, maybe that name has a lot more value, because the operator says, I'm going to add this additional policy, and that is, you can only buy a name from me if I meet you. So we're going to have to set up a time, an opportunity to meet face to face, in order to for you to prove to me you're a real person. And then once that happens, then we'll continue the purchase process, and maybe the issuing of the certificate and everything. And maybe I don't give you anything until it's completely finalized. So it's like I could withhold, giving you all the potential information until it's completely finalized. So maybe some people want to give you a certificate right away that you can start using and signing things. Other people, maybe it's like, look, I want to operate this from a very, very trusted, and very require this human element. And maybe there's top level names. It's like, I only want bots to use this
Right.
as a mechanism. So at bot or something. And maybe then the criterion and the process for how you issue those things has a whole different. I mean, obviously you can't meet a bot in person, so there's you can kind of start. And I encourage people start thinking about this stuff. It's like maybe this would be a great way to run my Boy Scout troop. Maybe this would be something for a broader sort of ecosystem. Maybe it's a charity thing I want to run. Maybe it's like if you join my I don't know, pottery group, this becomes just part of what I give you, just so everybody in the pottery, craft group knows that they can identify other people that are within that group as well. So it's all up to you. The world is open in terms of how you want to use this stuff. And I'm really looking forward to people getting creative about how this is, because again, it's definitive property at the end of the day. So we can think long term about this. We don't have to worry about the domain name expiring. We don't have to worry about INNA, pulling it back. I mean, in a way, we're going to have, I think, intergenerational sort of usages are going to start becoming like, well, wait a second, I could set up a DAO with this, a distributed autonomous organization. Yep. I could set up a charity. I could set up an endowment. I could set up, my family tree, my whole family's estate planning thing. I think as the idea starts settling in, this is going to be really exciting what people do with it.
So many options. There's so many options. It's a huge thing. Digital names. We're online all the time. So a digital name that you can actually own, and you don't have a ruler, it's just verified on Bitcoin. Yep. Seems like a simple concept, but it's hard to put together, right? It took a lot of work to get Spaces protocol in this situation. And trustless, permissionless. If Bitcoin works, this is going to work. As far as if Bitcoin's still around, you'll be able to verify your name on Bitcoin because there's no layers in between.
That's right. So
it's really
very exciting.
All right.
So we're very excited, and this really, now we can kind of move to the next steps. Obviously I've got a workshop to put together before the end of the month. Again, I'm excited to kind of do this in a broader way, and honestly, to be able to talk about it as a real thing. Yeah. I mean, to date, we've been talking about it, but it's always kind of a little bit caveated, and we can kind of like really be open, and so if people are interested in this and they have other ideas about how to spread the word about it, please get in touch with us, and we will. Well, I guess we need to start giving people a way to get in touch with us, right? Yeah. We'll figure that out. All right, folks.
And so what else is... There's some things I want to test too. Like we're talking about this. Like I want to issue a sub and I want the name to expire. See how that interaction works, the top level. Mm-hmm. Then I want to issue a sub, have the person take their sub on the Bitcoin main chain, then have that sub expire, or see the top level expire, see how that interaction works. Then I want to issue a sub, have the person take their sub on the main chain and have a new commit. I want to commit and change the subs when the person that I issued the first commit to their sub, they took it on the main chain. I want to see how that interaction works too.
Yeah.
So it's just got all these things I'm thinking about.
Yeah, and then say you set up a top level name, and it's very popular, and maybe you build a big community around it, and issue hundreds of subnames on it, and it's working great. And then you say, you know what? I put a lot of sweat equity into kind of building this community, and maybe I've lost interest, or maybe I just want to, like, somebody else realizes that value of that community and says, look, I'll buy it. I'll buy this from you, all of it, the top level name, all the sub names, everybody, this whole community. And so now you've effectively got a broader, higher value property that is not only the name itself, it's like everything that's been built up around it.
Yeah.
So,
Huge.
what's that worth?
Right.
Right. You know, so again, I'm very excited to see how people think about this, how they build, how they go further with it. And it might be the next X, or it might be the
Yeah.
next, thing. There's a lot of Nostr tie-ins. In fact, I just heard of something yesterday, which kind of, when I first heard, I'm like, why would you need that? But there's a project where they're building like an email system on Nostr.
Interesting.
Email, great, it works mostly, but you got to go through mail exchangers, and those can be attacked. Those can be like, stopped. So effectively, a system that behaves in a lot of the way that email does, but is completely over Nostr. If you add spaces to that, I mean, you've got something that almost already exactly looks like an email address now.
Yeah.
It's going to be familiar to people.
That's
to
awesome.
be like, oh, just email me at Alice@Bitcoin. It's like, imagine being able to just say that and know that it'll work, and that there's nothing that can come between you and other people trying to get a hold of you. That's pretty powerful, man.
Very powerful. And that's what we're trending. The people want to be free. They want to have freedoms. We want to have our own sovereignty and control over our own things. People don't need to be in my emails. I'm sending you a message, or sending somebody in my family a message. That's private information.